Yeah. So how about you though? What have you been playing recently?
All right, so this part of our Untitled podcast will only go up on the Wednesday or Thursday because
Hmm.
of the embargo set for this game. But I've been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Shadows, about 15 to 20 hours. By the time this episode comes out, I think I should have been done with the game by now. I am actually enjoying it, with a bunch of caveats I have to put at the end there.
Mm.
So, I guess for those who don't know, Assassin's Creed is a long running series of games from Ubisoft where you focus on an assassin of the past, live through his or her life, and then you get to also experience the other side, or where basically you're playing this other protagonist who's looking through these memories in the future, in Abstergo or whatnot. You're basically the present day story, in other
Right.
words. In Assassin's Creed Shadow, there's little to no presence of the present day story. Now it's just focused more on the story of Naoe and the Black Samurai Yasuke, whose plot lines converge after an incident happens in Feudal Japan. So a lot of people have been craving for a Japanese Assassin's Creed setting. In fact, I think Sucker Punch's PlayStation exclusive game, Ghost of Tsushima, beat that to a punch about 2020 or so. So Ubisoft is apparently 4 years too late, or 5 years too
Yeah.
late. But better late than never. I played the game, a lot of it. Yeah, safe to say it's not going to beat Ghost of Tsushima. Having said that, it's still a game worth playing. I do enjoy the controls, although some of them can get a bit finicky, especially when I'm... For those who aren't familiar with the recent Assassin's Creeds, like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Valhalla, and Assassin's Creed Origins, there's a bit of a leveling up system going on where you play as assassin, you gather up equipment, you level up your character, you get more skills, and once you reach a particular level threshold, that's when you can start tackling the level. This is basically to combat. I think this is a way to present the game in a new light, because in past Assassin's Creed games, you can just go through the motions of the story per se. But the trade-off is you spend more time in the world, you spend more time through gatekeeping mechanics. You'll find that same kind of problem with Assassin's Creed Shadows. I'm going to focus more on the good parts, where I kind of like where the story is going, where it's basically just a woman looking for revenge against the people who destroyed her village. And then it turns out there's a story that's bigger than her and Yasuke. Yasuke was in the former regime under Nobunaga before the shit hits the fan in the feudal era of Japan, and then Yasuke ends up not having a lord, and then he has to team up with Naoe to become the group, to become a feudal assassin group to fix Japan, basically. There's a lot of grey and white morality things going on, like what are you gonna do with a father whose kid you are trying to bond with, especially when the father turns out to be part of the conspiracy that burned down your home village and destroyed all you love. So
Right.
there's a lot of like little dilemmas here and there. The map itself is just one huge chunk of feudal Japan. It is very big. It's easy to get lost into,
Right.
but luckily you can unlock fast travel points. There are Kakugure locations where you get to go into this secret hideout to restock your equipment and save and to fast travel at. You can also find Eagle Purchase to fast travel at. You know, like
Okay.
you play
Yeah.
Assassin's
Yeah.
Creed 2, right? You know the
Yeah.
thing you can climb onto. It's also funny to see Yasuke jumping off from a high spire into the haystack because of his armor. He's
Yeah.
just basically
Right.
falling and then he got his back hurt. It's you get an achievement for that, by the way.
Oh, okay.
It's comedy gold. And yeah, each of the storylines are alright to follow through, especially when I see how they incorporate the historical characters in the game. As I mentioned before, gameplay has a whole leveling up system, but you can still stealth around, kill enemies, especially as Naoe, because Yasuke is more meant for like on ground combat.
Right.
Naoe is more stealth and assassin like.
Yeah.
Now Yasuke can take up to 10 hits or so in the sword fight. Naoe takes 2.
Right.
But her dodges and is unparalleled, and she's the fastest among the bunch.
Mhm.
So in Naoe, you play most of the 8 hours as Naoe before you get to Yasuke. By the way,
Okay.
so you need to get. It is still an Assassin's Creed game through and through. It's
Yeah.
just that Yasuke is a bonus character you can use if you're like, hey, I want to turn on easy mode and fight through this entire battle without sneaking around.
Right.
You can do that with Yasuke, especially when you get an armor that lets you block unblockable attacks,
Yeah.
which you can get pretty early in the game, like about 10, 11 hours or so. It also depends on whether you are willing to do the homework, as in like, are you willing to do all these, rob these pagodas and castles to get the best equipment, or do you want to barrel through the story mode?
Right.
I suspect you can finish story mode in about 20, 25 hours.
Okay.
But if you want to get to a higher level to access story mode here and there, especially the higher level areas, 30
Okay.
level 35 or so, you need to start doing these side missions here and there, like infiltrating castles or infiltrating businesses that are corrupt, or doing side quests to gain allies who can act as your assist partners during a fight or during a skirmish. You need all the help, especially for Naoi's side, because she is weak, but
Yeah.
she hits hard too and has sneak attacks and deals more vulnerable damage. So do different kind of play styles, which are kind of fun, but I think it also depends on your mood, whether you want a tank through the game unbalanced with Yasuke, but also cannot climb up roofs and all that, or you play as Naoe, who can uncover more secrets. The game lets you switch between characters anytime you want, as long as you're out of combat. But the
Right.
transition could be a bit faster, because it's like, you want to change from Yasuke to Naoe, pause the game, switch the character through another option, and then you wait a bit, there you go. It's not as seamless as it should be.
Right. Okay.
But I can understand the game is pretty huge and looks very nice in performance mode.
Okay.
I played through fidelity mode, not really a fan of the game slowing down. Actually, here's a tidbit. In performance mode, when you get to your hideout, your main big base hideout, the game slows down to a crawl to 25 frames, 20 frames per se, because of all the... I'm sure it'll run better on the PC, but I'm saying this, I'm playing on PS5. It's a bit jarring. But apart from that, the rest of the game runs just fine.
Okay.
Like when I'm exploring, jumping in pagodas, sneaking around as Naoe. Oh, and Naoe has this pretty cool skill where you get to use a multi-tool rope to climb vertically. So instead of just climbing up slowly, especially if there's like a high roof you cannot get over, just use the rope hook. That's it. So it actually is convenient to play as Naoe, especially when you want to uncover secrets, get to eagle perches, and getting chests up high areas and walls and whatnot.
Yeah.
Any other questions you want to ask about?
I mean, overall, I think my biggest intrigue. I've always loved the stories of Assassin's Creed. So I guess I want to know. I guess how is the narrative been, and how's the pacing of it and whatnot.
It paces out just fine. There are even romance options if you're so keen. But generally, I mean, I guess you can make Naoe either straight or lesbian. So
yeah.
So there you go. But in terms of the pacing so far, I'm still 15 hours in at this point in time. I will wrap up the game probably when this review pops up, when this video pops up after the embargo. But so far my thoughts it's probably going to be the same. It is an alright story, especially when it's not as colorful as maybe Ghost of Tsushima. I still think Ghost of Tsushima handles it better in gameplay and story department. And also being 4 years earlier than Assassin's Creed Shadow.
Right.
But generally, as a game that you want to buy this year in Feudal Japan that's open world, there are not much choices, I guess. I don't think I should recommend Rise of the Ronin to you, because it's an open world game with a stamina bar.
Right.
And to play as... I mean, again, the controls are great in Assassin's Creed Shadows. I like how both characters play, different styles and whatnot. Especially some of the battles where suddenly, you've got like Japanese punk music popping in, guitar 80s music coming in, and some hip-hop stuff going on here and there during the battles and whatnot. I'm okay with the creative changes here and there. It may not be as historically accurate as other titles, but
yeah,
I'm okay. I mean, again, it's still pretty fun. It's still a pretty good time. And to answer your question, the storyline, well, I'm interested to see how Naoe's story goes. I'm sure there's a twist right ahead, but so far, it's as standard as you can get. Like outsiders forming a group to combat the evil that they've been to deliver justice and whatnot. It handles itself just fine.
Yeah, I guess then what makes this Assassin's Creed kind of, besides its setting, what makes it stand out from the others? Is there anything that's very blatant? obviously the difference in having like two very different characters, right?
Yeah, two different
yeah.
playstyles. I think as padding goes, there is this system called knowledge points.
Right.
You not only have to put in skill points in your skill tree, like for your ninjutsu, your shinobi, your assassination, your katana tree and whatnot.
Right.
You also have to make sure to get knowledge points to access the higher levels of the skill tree. And to do that, you have to go through pagodas, temples and whatnot, collect scrolls or pray at certain different sections. Once you complete that temple's task, you get a knowledge point. You build up more knowledge points, you get to rank up in knowledge to get higher into the skill tree. So you cannot just put skill points into the skill tree progressively. You need to unlock gating mechanics of the skill tree.
Okay.
Yeah, so I am not really a fan of that. It just adds to the padding per se. So that's one way I can knock off points off Assassin's Creed Shadows. But beyond that, I'm fine with the world, I'm fine with the setting, I like the action so far, the combat, especially when I can just jump to Yasuke and just use him to tank through enemies. I got like a Naginata, the Japanese spear, and some armor and whatnot that help me block certain attacks well. So combat that will take me like maybe a few minutes an hour ends in seconds with Yasuke.
Right.
So there is an option for that if you want to make the game harder or easier for yourself. But generally, I'm okay with the game so far. It's a solid experience. It's worth the money per se. Not gonna beat Ghost of Tsushima, as I said countless times and again, but it's still a fun time. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Again, maybe if I nitpick further and further, I can probably find more flaws against it. But I do feel that the hate that the game got from a promotional standpoint and DEI, all this other nonsense that happened prior to the game being released and all that, it's a bit unwarranted. I mean, you gotta judge a game on its own merit, its gameplay.
Yeah.
And from where I stand right now, it is still fun. It's still alright.
Yeah. Yeah, I think something you were saying that really resonates with me is the fact that I do worry it's probably going to just continue to live in Ghost of Tsushima's shadow.
It will be. It will.
Because I never played the original. I played the director's cut on PC, and yeah, I understood instantly why it was Game of the Year. Pretty much, it was so. It's such an interesting story. Like, not only just the gameplay mechanics, which I can talk about later, but the story is so well written, and I guess I think what resonated with me the most was definitely the philosophical conversations you end up having with yourself, essentially,
and your uncle as well in the game.
Yeah, exactly, because it's just like, do you follow the honorable samurai way, or do you go the kind of what will eventually become kind of like the shinobi way, in a sense, and use kind of what samurai would consider cheap tricks, but in reality it helps, it works, it's efficient, and it's very much fighting fire with fire in some senses. And I feel like having that kind of philosophical debate and the way that it was written into the story in Ghost of Tsushima is something that I don't think Assassin's Creed could ever really top unless they were the ones to do it first.
So far, I'm not getting any vibes of that. I mean, the story can get a bit cheeky at times, a little bit here and there, but I think it's pretty standard for a revenge tale and an atonement kind of tale, especially with Yasuke being a samurai trying to live as a black person, the sole black person in Japan and all that. So
yeah,
it's standard, let's just say that. At least there's a big playground for me to do stuff in, so I'll give AC Shadows that.
Okay.